Welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes, our gambling show. We are recording this Wednesday night. Last week, I had an absolutely awesome run. I went 4 for 5. My only losing bet would be Monday night with the Cleveland Browns, which I chalked that up to an L as soon as I saw Nick Chubb's knee explode. But that's gambling. You're going to get a lot of bad beats. You're going to get a lot of good wins, like lucky wins. Those lines last week were pretty soft. Let's see if we can beat them this week. We're going to go from the top of the slate all the way down, starting with Thursday night. So Thursday night, we've got the Giants, who've looked absolutely horrible for 3 halves and then looked absolutely incredible for 1 half this season. A Brian Daboll coach team going into San Francisco, who's looked incredible. They are feeding Christian McCaffrey there. Brock Purdy looks like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, right now. San Francisco, 10-point favorite at home. The over-under is 44, a very low over-under for a 10-point favorite game. So they're basically predicting that the Giants will be shut down on offense and the Niners will score enough points to cover this 10-point spread. Looks like a right number to me, not something that I'm getting super excited about betting. Anybody feel like they have a good side on the Giants or the 49ers or want to bring something else to the table?
I'm taking the under.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead. Take an under 44.5. It is your thought process that the Niners are just going to go get this lead and then just run the clock out. I mean, the Giants aren't going to be able to score a single point.
This feels like a 31-10 game to me, honestly. 49ers come up big, smother. You're talking about no Saquon, more than likely no Saquon. I mean, let's be real. Saquon's not playing this game.
Saquon's out, in my opinion. I think Daboll came out and said he's day-to-day. It'll be a game-time decision. I think that's bullshit. That ankle injury looked bad. Go ahead, Andrew.
This is a short week. You have Ayuk who's banged up. You had Shanahan that came out after the game and says, hey, we need to give more touches to Elijah Mitchell, mix up the running back touches. This feels like a game where the 49ers will do their work in the first half and then just kind of just run it down their throats with Elijah Mitchell and probably Taylor Price. I just have no faith the Giants are going to score much. And, the 49ers really don't have a big incentive to score a ton of points this game. It's a short week. They've got a pretty tough game with the Rams on Sunday. So,
yep. James, your thought?
I did have a bet on this one that I placed personally. I took the Niners team total over 27.5. I think 4 touchdowns is more than possible for this team, if not more, in this matchup. I do agree with Andrew that they're probably going to be running it out near the end, but I think they definitely get to that 28-point mark, probably even see a defensive touchdown in there. So I like that number at
so James,
27.5.
James betting the team total. So your kind of thought process, James, I would argue that you're kind of more on the over side, because if you are expecting the Niners to score that many points, you're either expecting them to do that in the first half or you're expecting the Giants to kind of make this a game. And yeah, the more I think about it, I like where this number's at. I'm laying off of it. But so we got 2 bets on the Thursday night football game, none of which were endorsed by me. And I went 4 and 5 last week. So we are going to move on to the Sunday.
Wait, I want to say real quick on that.
Go ahead, Miles.
For sure, I kind of agree with them, but the Niners, I would give them 20 easy, but I would take the under on this all day, because I do think, like exactly what you said, the 49ers are going to get way up on this game. The Giants suck this year. That's just facts. And they're going to just kind of ride the clock for the end of the game. So I would say big time 49ers easily. I'd give them 20 over, but they're under on 44.5.
Okay. So under 44. So that's just a massive bet against the Giants being able to score points. What I saw in the second half of that Giants-Cardinals game was Daniel Jones start to run the football.
That's against the Cardinals, not against the 49ers.
That's a very fair point, Miles. Very good point. But my concern with the under and the total of this game, if I had to lean out of any of your picks, I would kind of err on the side of James, because I could see the Giants and Darren Waller and Daniel Jones sticking to how they played in the second half of the Cardinals game where they came back and ended up winning the game. Didn't cover, but they won in Arizona. Did they fly back home from Arizona? Does anybody know that? I think they did. I think they flew back home, and now they're flying all the way across country again to the Niners on a short week.
That's not a good idea.
So
I bet they stayed, Jamie.
think,
that doesn't seem like a Dayball move. I bet they stayed or they went to California.
Yeah, so now that I'm thinking about it, if they actually flew all the way back and then are now flying back to the Niners, to San Francisco from New York, 2 giant round trips, that's a lot of travel on a short week on a Thursday night, Arizona to New York to San Francisco in like 4 days span, 3 days span. Maybe I do like the Niners a little bit more. Giants coming off a win, maybe a little bit less desperate for a bounce back, and Niners looking to just dominate a bad team. Let's maybe make a note of that and look into that for maybe some post episode gambling. But we're going to move on to the Sunday slate. We're going to try and move as fast as we can possibly can. We got a lot of games, no bye weeks yet here in week 3 of the NFL season. Denver Broncos going over to the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins at home in Miami. Broncos coming from a pretty cold weather, high altitude environment in Denver, going into Miami, playing the Dolphins. Dolphins are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 48 points. I would lean the Miami Dolphins here, but a 6.5-point spread against who I can only assume is a semi-competent Broncos team. We saw them come from behind and lose at the very last second on a 2-point conversion with a vintage Russell Wilson Hail Mary. They looked a lot better in week 2 than they did in week 1. They looked horrible in week 1. The Broncos did. Miami Dolphins look absolutely dominant coming off of a highly emotional game playing divisional rival in the New England Patriots. So maybe a little bit of a letdown game. So for that reason, I'm laying off of it. If I had to lean anything, I would say Dolphins, but maybe this game will be a little bit closer than we think. I'll leave it to Mr. Andrew. Any picks on this game?
I'm staying away, but if I had to, I'm leaning the Broncos. This feels like a trap game. 6.5. Jalen Waddle in concussion protocol. Let's not forget that.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like a backdoor cover game. To me, it feels like the Broncos are going to get a backdoor cover, maybe even win it late. Who knows?
Yep, and that's why I'm laying off of it, too. I just think 6.5 is too many points, even if you are in Miami, a hot Miami day. James, any thoughts on this game?
I actually disagree with all of you guys. I have Miami as a big blowout on this game. I think 10 o'clock in Denver time kickoff coming out. It's going to be very hot, especially with that kickoff there in Miami. They've got that stadium designed for that. I actually took the alternate spread on this with Dolphins minus 8.5 at plus 125 was my bet for this one that I personally made.
Yeah, and you know what, James? I think that's a really good idea. I think if you are betting Miami minus 6.5, you might as well just make it 8.5. Because like Andrew was saying, you might get a backdoor cover, or you might get a game that's 40-3 at half, and you're just like, man, why didn't I bet Miami minus 8.5, minus 9, minus 10? You're going through the key number of 7, but after that, you're going all the way up to 8.5, which isn't necessarily a super key number, a little bit more of a key number in gambling as of recently, with more people or more teams opting to go for 2 instead of kicking field goals, and more teams missing field goals now. So yeah, I love that idea. If you are leaning towards the Dolphins, or you like the Dolphins at 6.5, maybe you sprinkle in some alternate spread at 8.5 and get that extra little vig taken care of. I love that thought, James. Miles, any last thoughts on this game?
I think that you guys are overhyping Denver. I do not trust Russell Wilson at all. And even without Waddle, you still have Tyreek and Tua. So Miami is all the way on this one.
Yep. Yeah. And, my hesitation on betting against the Broncos is that Sean Payton's only had 2 games with Russell Wilson, and they are sort of trending, I think, sort of in the right direction. Russell Wilson has definitely looked better this year than last year. That's not saying much because he was horrible last year. But for all those reasons, I'm just laying off of it. I don't have to bet any certain number of games. All I have to do is bet at least one in this whole slot. And we got a lot more games to go, so we're going to keep on rolling. Buffalo Bills going into the Washington Commanders. The Bills are 6.5-point favorites on the road going into Washington. We already talked about matchup-wise, Brian Robinson looking incredible. The Bills have shut down every running back they have faced so far that I can remember. So for that, situationally, I would definitely lean the Bills. With that being said, Josh Allen has looked really, really hit and miss. This is an outdoor game in Washington. I do not know if we are expecting any weather right now. If there is weather, I am all in on betting against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen because he evidently cannot play in the weather. And I am pulling up the forecast.
80% chance of rain, 67 degrees at kickoff.
Ooh, 80% chance of rain, says James.
How do you get a job as a quarterback in Buffalo if you can't play in the weather? Like, how does that even happen?
Exactly, and that is
Lied
a
on his
massive
resume.
concern. That is a massive concern. I totally agree with you. And I am seeing on my app too a pretty good chance of rain. So for that reason, hoping that the weatherman is right, and if the weatherman is wrong, I'm just hoping that the Commanders keep it close. I think they're an average football team, and I think the Bills are maybe a little bit overrated here. We did just discover that this is a weather game. So for that reason, I'm going to bet against Josh Allen and his inability to air the ball out. And honestly, I think this Washington Commanders defense is finally looking like a Washington Commanders defense now that Chase Young is back, that we've kind of liked it to look like in the recent past. Despite the challenges that Brian Robinson will have on the ground, I do think he has a superstar in this league, so he will be able to overcome, and they'll just be able to figure out how to win or how to keep it close over there in Washington at home, getting 6.5 points in a weather game against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I am making my first bet on the Washington Commanders plus 6.5 against the Buffalo Bills. Mr. Andrew, any thoughts on this game? Do you like any side of it?
I prefer the Commanders. This feels like a Josh Allen 400-yard passing day, but he's going to have a couple of turnovers. It just feels like it. Yeah. Chase Young came back last week, had 1.5 sacks.
Yep.
They're very strong in the middle of that defensive line, which is a big problem for the Bills because their offensive line is weak. So I see a lot of issues for that. I'm praying for my man James Cook.
So is that an official bet for you, Mr. Andrew? 6.5?
Yeah, I am taking 6.5 in the Commanders.
Me too. James, are you with us or are you against us?
I am. I'm very much with you. I think I'm very much high on the Washington defensive line. I actually did a half unit on the spread and a half unit on the money line for this game. I think the Commanders might win this one outright, so I think it's worth checking out that
money line plus 230 on the game.
Yeah, so we'll half unit on that, half unit on the spread action.
Love it. Mr. Miles?
I still just cannot get behind the Washington Commanders. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I would say that despite the weather, Josh Allen will get it into Diggs' hands enough to overcome this Washington Commanders team this weekend.
Yep. And I think for that exact reason that you just said, Miles, is why this is a good bet. This is why I liked the Cardinals last week, because it's like nobody's going to bet on this team. Like, why would you? This team stinks. I think the Washington Commanders haven't quite had their coming out party yet. I don't think they win this game. Like Miles said, I think the Buffalo Bills are a far superior team. I think the Bills kind of eke it out at the end, maybe with a last-second field goal. But I could see at half the Washington Commanders going into the tunnel with like a 7-point lead. And if you got 6.5 points in your back pocket, you're feeling pretty good at that kind of halftime performance. So I'm going to go towards the Commanders. Miles, are you betting the Bills, or are you just kind of like staying off this game?
I'm broke, so I'm not betting on any of this in real life. But
are you recommending people who aren't broke bet?
Oh, if you've got money to throw around, I would absolutely put it on the Bills over the Commanders. For a touchdown, they got that.
Hell yeah. I would. I mean, obviously, from my standpoint, I've never recommended bets publicly. I have put a lot of research, time, and effort and energy over the past several years, learning everything I can learn about the sports gambling world and the NFL world. I would like to keep in mind to try and bet as few games as possible. Try and maximize your expected value in these games and just bet the games you feel really, really good about. And I just feel really, really good about the Commanders playing the Bills in bad weather at Washington, or a team. The fan base is going to be super excited. It's going to be loud there to start the game. Buffalo Bills maybe get out to a slow start, throw a few picks. Josh Allen has a tough time, and Commanders cover that 6.5. So I'm going to stay there. Houston Texans going into the Jacksonville Jaguars have had an up and down season thus far. The Jags minus 9.5 points. The Houston Texans have been able to score points, believe it or not, with C.J. Stroud at the helm. He, I think, led the NFL in or was one of the top passing quarterbacks in the NFL last week. Tank Dell is very quickly earning a lead role there with Nico Collins, kind of 1A and 1B, hopefully. Very, very good offense. The only thing they haven't been able to do is run the football. The Jags, offensively and defensively, have looked a little bit more average than I think we would have expected coming out the gates. Granted, they just played the Kansas City Chiefs, who came off a loss. Andy Reid on a long week to prepare, which is never a good thing when you're facing Andy Reid when he has film to study. Calvin Ridley, big game week 1, bad game week 2. I think he went out with like a knee bruise and missed a lot of this game snap-wise. Christian Kirk filled in for him very nicely for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If I had a lean on this game, I would lean probably towards the Houston Texans side, but I'm laying off of it. I don't want to put my money on a rookie quarterback who's playing against a team who won a playoff game last year. So I'm laying off of it. I'll go to James for this one. James, are you betting either side of this one?
I'm staying clear of this. We got the battle of the tanks here with Tank Dell and Tank Bigsby. I don't like this 9.5. You can very much compare it to the North Africa campaign in World War II. A lot might be going on, but probably not a winner on either side.
James, a trade has just been completed. Oh, and Andrew, a trade has just been completed in our fantasy football Superflex Dynasty League, 12-team league. Najee Harris and Nick Chubb were swapped, essentially. Wow. So Jamie, who is admittedly tanking, got Nick Chubb. So he doesn't care about this year. He's not win now. He traded to Caleb B. Davis. Najee Harris, who I think will be overtaken by Jaylen Warren very soon. That's just something that's going to happen with Mike Tomlin, the best head coach in the NFL, is going to put the best player on the field. And I think we know who the best player on the field is. And CB Davis gets a 3rd-round pick, which is kind of like best case scenario, a coin flip for Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb won that trade, the Nick Chubb side, because he's not winning now. But anyways,
I almost put in a Cam Akers for Nick Chubb trade last night to Caleb, but didn't go through with it.
I love Caleb going at it, trying to rebuild the team. He had a really rough time picking players in the startup draft. This is a startup league that we just started this offseason. Where were we? Andrew, any thought on the Texans Jags?
I don't want any part of this game. I just don't.
Me neither. Mr. Miles?
Two tales of just terrible teams. I also don't really want to participate in betting on this one.
I think the Jags are a good team. I think they could still get it together. Trevor Lawrence is good at football. People forget about that. But yeah, I'm laying off of it because I just don't know what either of these teams are. I don't have a good read on
There are
what
two bad teams that have good players on them, but neither of them have got it clicking yet.
Yeah. So I'm laying off of it. I think that 9.5 number is kind of honestly pretty spot on at Jacksonville. Going to be hot. Also, Texas is hot too. So whatever. Laying off of it. Not betting it. 9.5 seems right to me. Going to the Indianapolis Colts and the Ravens. Now, this is an interesting spread, you guys. The Baltimore Ravens were 3-point underdogs last week. They were one of my bets to beat the Bengals. Joe Burrow looks horrible. He is injured. He's got a calf injury. So I think the Ravens might have gotten a little bit more respect than they deserve. Gardner Minshew might start this game. And honestly, if Gardner starts this game, I kind of like the Colts a little bit more just based on where Gardner Minshew is talent-wise versus Anthony Richardson talent-wise as an NFL quarterback. So maybe the Colts lost a few points. I don't know what this line opened at before week 2, but I imagine it moved a few points in the Ravens' direction. Getting 7.5 at Baltimore, the Ravens have a lot of issues with that secondary. The Colts seem to be extremely well coached on all aspects of the football. Their defense is humming. The Ravens have serious injuries at defensive back. We don't know who's going to start. We don't know who's not going to start at this point, sitting here Wednesday night. But I'm gonna keep riding. I'm gonna keep riding these Colts, man. I think Gardner Minshew. I think this team has a lot of juice, no matter who their quarterback is. I think the Baltimore Ravens are getting a little bit more credit than they deserve, beating Joe Burrow last week on the road in Cincinnati. I don't care what the weather is of this game. I don't care who the quarterback the Colts has. Really, either way, I would prefer it to be Gardner Minshew, just with the secondary in Baltimore being what it is right now in shambles injury-wise. I am taking my second recommended bet and hitting the Colts and taking those 7.5 points on the road against Baltimore Ravens. Mr. Miles, any thoughts on this game?
Honestly, this one to me, I just don't have enough input to give a fair assessment to bet one way or the other.
That's awesome. Keeping it moving to Andrew.
I'm staying away from this game because I don't know if it's going to be Minshew or Richardson. But if it's Richardson starting, I'd rather go with the Ravens. If it's Minshew starting, I'd lean towards the Colts.
So, yeah, I am betting on Minshew playing this game. I think even if Richardson clears concussion protocol, I think you invested a lot into Anthony Richardson. I don't think you invested a lot into Anthony Richardson to necessarily win a Super Bowl this year. So for that reason, I think they might put bubble wrap on him for a week and just throw Gardner Minshew out there in his jorts to sling the ball around the yard. So my bet is geared towards Minshew playing and Pittman and Alec Pierce and Downs kind of just picking apart this Baltimore defense and keeping it close. So that's where my head thought process is. I like that you're off of it because of that, though. You're kind of playing a little bit safe, which I like. Mr. James, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I would argue that with your idea of Minshew is who you want, I might wait on this line because if they do announce it, I think that the public will probably will end up going on Baltimore a little more. You might end up getting 8.5 here if you wait on it, in my opinion. I am on, much like you, betting this based on Minshew or Richardson, but in a different way. I went with the Ravens team total of over 26.5, but I do think whatever quarterback starts for Colts, I think that over at 44.5 is a good thing to look at as well. I think this is definitely going to be a very high scoring game. I think it might be an underrated game to watch this week.
Yeah, I think scoring wise, I think both of these teams are going to score. So I kind of like the over 45.5. If anything, I would definitely have to look into the weather of the game because it will be outside in Baltimore in the fall. So I would have to look into that if I were to bet an over or under. I don't like your side because I believe a little bit more in this Colts defense than I think you do, James. So that's why I would lean more towards the over instead of the Baltimore Ravens team total. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons, the most average team in the NFL, in my opinion. They are square in the middle. Their defense is decent. Their offense is decent. They are going to go into Detroit. The Lions fan base was absolutely on the moon for last week. Maybe not going to be quite as loud this week, but I still think there's a little bit of excitement in Detroit. Detroit coming off of a bit of a disappointing loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Detroit had a lot of turnovers that game. They made a lot of mistakes. And I think a part of that has to be expected with the Dan Campbell offense. But I finished watching that game. Like I said, I was watching it in a previous episode this week today. And I just thought to myself, man, if this line makes any sense with the Falcons, who I think are a little bit overrated right now. I believe the Falcons are undefeated as well. I like the Lions to cover this spread at home. The Lions win by more. Am I going to say that out loud? No. I'm not going to say it out
I'll
loud.
say they're going to win by
You
more
seem
than
pretty
3.
close.
I think they're going to easily cover by 3.
So Miles likes 3.5. I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle on this game. I don't think the Lions defense is where it needs to be a Super Bowl caliber team. I think this Falcons offense has a lot of juice with Bijan Robinson, Desmond Ridder, and some pretty good offensive weapons there that are going to give this Lions defense some major issues. I think the Lions offense are going to welcome the Falcons to the NFL in their first real football game. They're going to sling the ball all over the field. We got the 2 best rookie running backs going head to head. So for that reason, I am not going to take the Lions, even though I do lean the Lions -3, and I'm going to hammer over 46.5. This game just screams like a 60-point game to me. So I'm going to take
this is
Atlanta
you and your
Falcons.
friend playing Madden when neither of you really understand how the game works. Like
Understand defensive schemes. You're just running 4 verticals every single play. And yeah, I think Dan Campbell, I think that atmosphere in Detroit is going to be a little bit lower energy. And for that reason, it'll make it a little bit easier for the Falcons to run their offense the way they want to, which is pound the rock. I don't think the Lions are really equipped to stop the run game or the pass game with Kyle Pitts and Drake London. I could see them giving up some major things. And I'm just like, what if the Lions are just going to be the same old Lions, just fumble this game away again, like they tried to against the Chiefs in opening night? So I'm going to go Lions over 46.5 as my third bet on today's slate. We're still in the noon game, so that's not a good sign for me. Betting way too many games early on. I'll send it over to Andrew. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm taking Lions. This is my second best bet of the week. The
Second
Falcons,
best bet of the week.
Yes.
Lions -3.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrew's kind of with me.
Yeah. As the intro showed, my son has gotten his ass whooped by the bookies because Arthur Smith does not know how to use the skilled players. The Lions secondary, notoriously weak. I don't think they're going to be tested this week because the Falcons just can't throw the ball. They're inept. I'm loving Jamar Gibbs getting a lot more looks, hopefully a couple more touches with David Montgomery hurt. I see this game being the Lions coming out, jumping all over the Falcons and making the Falcons play catch up.
Yeah, and my only trepidation with that is just like, I don't know. I don't want to bet on the Lions this early on in the season. I think this Dan Campbell team, it's feisty. It's got a lot of energy. They believe in themselves, but almost too much. They're a little bit loose with that ball sometimes when they're running the ball. James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's never too bad to bet a lot earlier in the season. I do think the Lions are weaker when we go into these weeks. So that's my 2 cents on that. In terms of this game, I don't have one that I personally bet, but if I did have to lean somewhere, I would lean with the Lions.
Okay, so we're all kind of leaning towards the Lions. Andrew's betting the Lions. And Mr. Miles, anything?
No, just again, I feel that I think Jared Goff is actually showing a lot more promise this year than he has previously, and for that reason, I think they're going to cover this 3-point spread. I also, though, do think it's going to be an absolute shootout of a scoring game.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds looks incredible. Amon-Ra obviously looks incredible. I think he might be potentially dealing with like a little bit of a turf toe issue, but not a serious one that'll keep him sidelined for this game. Jahmyr Gibbs, probably his coming out party, which that interception, that pick six last week was on Jahmyr Gibbs, which makes me like the over a lot more than the spread of this game at 3. With that being said, if this ticks over to -2.5, which right now it looks like it's trending to go to Lions -3.5, I'm just really liking the over of this game. So that's kind of where I'm at there. Moving on, trying to speed it up here a little bit. We got a lot more games to talk about. New England Patriots going in to MetLife playing the Jets. The Jets are getting 3 points at home. The Patriots are 3-point underdogs at MetLife. They looked sort of competent against the Dolphins, kind of. The Jets are hapless. They are going to be starting Zach Wilson again. I watched Zach Wilson live this week, and for that reason, I am going to bet the Patriots -3. This is just so easy. This is my best bet of the week. Patriots -3. Looks like it might even be trending towards minus 2.5. I don't care that it's at MetLife. I don't think I don't think these Jets fans are really going to care. There weren't a lot of Jets fans at the game. The few of them that were there were pretty loud for the first quarter, but they shut up pretty quickly once they realized this game was going to get out of hand pretty quickly. Patriots, Bill Belichick scheming against Zach Wilson. He has absolutely no fucking chance to win this game or to even keep it close. Patriots minus 3 is my best bet of this slate, my fourth bet of the day. Mr. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
This will go to my best bet, which I am taking the Patriots and the under. This game screams out to me 17-3.
Yeah,
it just screams out 17-3. Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Jets get like a good punt. Maybe the Jets get a good punt return to the 2-yard line to kick a field goal. You know what I mean? Like
this line makes no sense.
Yeah, it's just I'm out.
Yeah,
are the people seeing this line like seeing something in the Jets that everyone else is missing? Because like I don't understand how you put the Jets within 3 of any team at this point.
I think this is just a lot of New York money coming into the Jets, and then the books are adjusting accordingly.
It's at MetLife, right? So that would be your only argument for the Jets, but I just don't see how Zach Wilson, like Cowboys Stadium, Cowboys fans, say what you want about them. They're not fucking loud. You'll never see a quarterback getting signals at Jerry World with his hands over his helmet. You know when Cowboys fans are loud? When they're leaving the stadium, walking down the ramp and cheering really loud. That's the loudest you'll ever hear a Cowboys fan is after a win. You'll never hear them. They have that bullshit decibel reader. That decibel reader is nowhere near where it actually is in Jerry World. They're not a hard barn to play in by any means, even when they have the majority of the fans like they did have against the Jets last week. Zach Wilson, absolutely no fucking chance. This line makes no sense. And James, I think you're right. It has to be. So it sounds like, James, you're on the Patriots too?
I'm on under, but I got 37. I bet this a little earlier in the week on Monday. I got under 37 on this one.
Okay, so you're going to lay off the rest of this game because you got a screaming value at 37 as the over-under. I love it. Miles, it sounds like we're all in lockstep here. New England Patriots -3, hammer it.
Yeah, and the under. They're not going to collectively, neither of these teams have that many points in them.
Yeah, the only reason I lay off the under is because I love 3.5 so much, and I could see the Patriots realistically putting up like 30 points and Garrett Wilson getting loose for a late touchdown, or Breece Hall getting loose for a late touchdown and kind of pushing the number over. So I don't like the over. So what I probably should do is bet -3 and put a little bit of extra little juice on the parlay. Patriots -3 and the under. You never really like doing that though when you're gambling because you have less of a chance to cover both when you take the underdog and the under because you have like the -3 situation there. So that's why I'm kind of laying off the under, but I love Patriots -3. That's my best bet. I think my fourth bet of the evening as we're scrolling on down to the Tennessee Titans, who look good. Vrabel will be a massive head coaching advantage there going into the Browns, going into Cleveland. A probably demoralized Cleveland Browns fan base. They can get loud there, but they're never known for being super loud, especially when they're cheering for a team who doesn't have Nick Chubb on it. An extremely low over-under for probably what we would expect going into the game. Deshaun Watson looks horrible. We didn't talk about it in the other pod like I meant to. Coach Stefanski came out after the game, was asked about Deshaun Watson's performance. He said, "This is a team issue. This is a team performance." Like, no. Dan Campbell, when Jared Goff sucked last year, he came out in the media and said, "Jared Goff, our quarterback, he needs to play better." And guess what? Jared Goff started fucking playing better. And all the team in the Cleveland Browns, they hear that. They hear that the defense, they hear that Coach Stefanski, their head coach, their leader, their spokesperson for the team, went in front of the media and blamed the whole team when everyone on the fucking planet knows that it's Deshaun Watson's fault. They're a $230 million quarterback, and he's just sitting there like Santa Claus on the Netflix series, "I think you should leave," and just saying like, "Hey, even if I do a bad job, you got to pay me my $230 million. And he's just sitting back there. It is a home game, which makes me like Deshaun a little bit more. I think he'll be able to play a little better at home. With that being said, Coach Vrabel, head coaching, massive advantage there, which is all it took for the Steelers to beat the Browns in prime time on Monday night. A shorter week for the Browns. They have one less week of rest, losing Nick Chubb, who was the heart and soul of this offense. I like the Titans +3. Do I like them enough to bet it? I don't know yet. James, what do you think?
I definitely took the money line on this one. Actually, I got 165 +165 for the Titans. I think that's a good number. I think this is like classic Mike Vrabel win written all over it.
It sure seems
165
like that,
is a great
right?
number.
He's a better head coach. This is the same old Browns. Week 3 came out, beat a former Super Bowl contending team, a former AFC Championship team. Looked really good in week 1. Now we find out Joe Burrow sucks. He's super injured. That's why the Browns look that good against them. That defense in Cincinnati seems to have regressed a little bit in that weather game. They don't have Nick Chubb. How do the Browns win this game? They are the same old Browns. This is my favorite football team I'm talking about here. I'm slowly talking myself into the Titans. Andrew, what do you think?
I like the under. I like the Titans. This game screams out defensive battle. I know the Browns lost Monday night.
Browns defense looks amazing.
Exactly. Which tells me that the Titans, they scored against the Chargers team because the Chargers are one of the worst run defenses in the league. Even though their head coach is a defensive guru, they're terrible. I like the Titans. Huge coaching advantage here with Vrabel.
Huge coaching
But
advantage.
I mean, I kind of like the under. Yeah, I just don't see either of these teams just lighting it up. So
I think this Titans team is a team we're going to look back on in week 7 and be like, remember like we thought the Titans kind of sucked this year? Tannehill looked horrible week 1. He looked a lot better in week 2. I am betting the Titans as my 5th bet of this slate, and we are not even into the 3 p.m. time slot. I am in trouble here betting this many games this early. Taking the Tennessee Titans +3. I'm taking the points. Mr. Miles, your last thoughts on this game?
This is one I would not bet on, only because I think this is going to be a real interesting week to watch the Cleveland Browns and how they are going to recover from losing their franchise player. We're going to see Ford get tested. We're going to see the whole team is going to get tested now that they no longer have essentially their heart and soul. It's going to be like a Disney movie about a football team that has to overcome the odds. We're going to find out if this is going to be a good ending or a tragedy for them.
Yeah, do they rally behind their loss of their superstar running back and put a game together with the motivation, or are they going to crumble under the pressure of expectations and a shitty head coach who doesn't know how to lead men because he is a fucking nerd? I love the Tennessee Titans +3.5. And I fucking hate my head coach, Coach Stefanski. I want him gone right fucking now. And that's why.
Are all the games at noon this week? Because it feels like we have been talking
Dude,
about
I'm telling you.
No bye weeks. Just no bye weeks.
No bye weeks. We're
Classic,
3 games away,
Vikings,
Miles. Talk me out of betting this game. Yeah, not betting this game. Hate this game. Think the spread is right on. The just a 1-point favorite for the Vikings at home. Chargers going to be a shootout, and the over/under reflects that at 54.5 points. I'm staying off this game. Mr. James, any thought on this game?
Yeah, I'm staying off of it too. No interest in it.
Andrew?
this is what I call a tipless condom game. Doesn't work for anyone. I'm staying away.
I don't know how I could possibly beat that analogy. So with that, yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, we're staying off the Chargers. But hey, we're going to sit back. No reason to bet on this game because we're going to sit back and just watch this shootout. And it's going to be Kirk Cousins leading the NFL, I think, in fantasy points currently. Justin Herbert not too far behind him. This game just screams a fantasy free-for-all. So we're just going to sit back. We're going to enjoy this game. Maybe we're going to start Kirk Cousins if we have him in our fantasy football bench. Just the way that Vikings offense is cooking and that Vikings defense and that Chargers defense is just sucking. Laying off of it, coin flip game, spread over-under reflects that. Moving on to our last noon game, the New Orleans Saints going into Green Bay. This is week 3. This is the last game that the Saints do not have their superstar running back Kareem Hunt. I think Jamal Williams was reported to have a hamstring injury, So we might be seeing Kendre Miller, who looked horrible in the preseason, has been injured, I think, twice already, was injured like 14 times when he played for TCU, looked electric playing for TCU, looked less than electric playing for the Saints. That offensive line for the Saints isn't great. The Packers defense seems to have a pulse. And the Saints, if anything, I would lean the under 43.5. This seems like more of a defensive battle, kind of back-to-back. We'll see if Christian Watson returns. If he does return, doesn't really change my mind on anything. I'm laying off this game. James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm laying off of it too. I am excited to see the potential Taysom Hill starting at running back, though. I would love to see that.
Taysom Hill looked really good in week 2. I mean, he's a best ball wet dream. Just draft him every opportunity you have, especially if you needed like a third tight end on your roster. He'll win you 5-6 championships in best ball if you got him. Never want to start him. Never feel good about starting him. Week 1, if you started him, you're like shit. Week 2, if you started him, you're like, I'm a genius. Yeah, I'm laying off this game. Miles, what do you think?
For me, I'm not betting this game. I'm just excited to see it because I drafted Jordan Love in week 2 off the waiver, or I picked him up off the waivers in week 2. I have Joe Burrow sitting in front of him. He's not been doing it, as you all may have noticed. I've been letting Love ride my bench, but this week against the Saints, he is going to get a chance to prove himself in the starting position, and I'm really hoping that Watson comes back to help him achieve those things.
Yep. And these are the 2 games that'll definitely be on my NFL Sunday Take simulcast. Definitely be the top screen, just these 2 games with whatever else games I want to watch at the time. These are going to be 2 awesome games. And for that reason, it just like makes me want to bet on them less because I just want to sit back and enjoy what we're going to find out about these 4 football teams. James, your last thoughts on this game?
I think we already did me. Giants on Saints Packers, right? Yep.
Andrew?
Staying away. I still don't know what the Saints are besides a super inefficient passing team. I just don't know yet. If I had to bet, I'd probably lean the Packers since it's the home field, but I'd stay away for sure. Staying away.
Yep. Moving on to the 3 p.m. slot. We finally made it to the 3 p.m. slot. Looks like we just have 3 games and then 2 games for Monday night, 1 Sunday night game. Yep. So we're getting towards the end here, thankfully. Getting to the Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks looked great. The Panthers did not. Bryce Young looks like he's struggling, which why wouldn't he? He's in a pretty shitty situation. Them losing DJ Moore in the trade to the Bears. Doesn't really have any targets to throw to. Seahawks looked a lot better. The spread kind of reflects that. I'm laying off this game. Seahawks 6-point favorites at home, coming off a big win in Detroit. Mr. Andrew, any thoughts on this game?
I kind of like the over in this game.
Okay.
I touch the total, but I like the over.
Over 40, over 42. Your thought process is that the Seahawks.
This feels like a game that's going to have at least 1 defensive touchdown for the Seahawks. And then it's loud. It's going to be super loud. Maybe Bryce Young throws a pick 6, a fumble 6. Something fluky is going to happen. But I also feel that they lost Shaq Thompson Monday night. That's going to hurt the middle of their defense. This feels like a Kenneth Walker breakout game also.
Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of lean towards Seattle minus 6.5 too with your handicap on the game. James, thoughts?
Yeah, I saw this one available at 4.5 the other day, so I kind of wish I'd taken that based on this late movement here, or not late movement.
4.5 for Seahawks. Yeah.
So
that makes me think.
I would have bet 4.5. Yeah, but right now I don't like it.
Yep. I agree with you. I think if this game was 4.5, I'd bet it right now. But since it's 6 right now, I'm just like, yep, that seems right. I think the market corrected for it appropriately. I think we lost Miles here momentarily. So we'll move on to the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals getting 12 points at home against the Cowboys. This Cowboys defense looks incredible. Feels like the Cowboys offense will score as many points as they want to. Cardinals coming off of a demoralizing defeat. They seemed like they had a chance to win it in the first half, and the Giants, who stink, came back. That's why the spread is what it is. I don't want to bet a 12-point spread, not this early when I love these other lines so much more earlier on in the noon games. I'm laying off of it. Mr. James, what do you think?
I went a little out of left field here. I did a team total. I did the Cardinals team total over 14.5. I think it's a very weird contrarian move here, but I do think that based on the Cowboys' offense being on the field for so long, they're going to get tired. I do think the Cardinals can sneak in 17, maybe even 21 points on these guys, simply because it's going to be so many points the other way from the Cowboys.
Josh Dobbs did look a lot more competent. Granted, he's like still learning this offense probably. He got brought in pretty recently and Miles is back. I'm adding him back to the stream. Now he's on the bottom of the screen. That's an interesting development. Anyways.
Who's top dog now? Who's top dog now?
I wonder if I think I can move you guys actually.
No.
Yeah, I can. All right. That was fun. Learning out the features to my app.
You're pulling a Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Andrew, what are your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys and the Cardinals?
I love the Cowboys. This feels like a game where the Cinderella slipper falls off for the Cardinals and they're just going to get their shit pushed in. I'm thinking 42-13. And it feels like it. You're going to have Josh Dobbs. Because the thing with the Cowboys defense is they stat chase. You got Micah Parsons, who you know is gunning for 23.5 sacks. He's going to try to get as much stats as he can early on. Trayvon Diggs sitting back. It just screams out multi-defensive touchdown game. I'm going with Cowboys.
Love it. And Miles, we'll skip you on this one unless you have anything to add. You kind of missed kind of what we said earlier on. We're going to try and speed this up for you and get to the Bears and the Chiefs. The Chiefs getting 12.5 points at home against the Bears. Why wouldn't they? The Bears are the Bears. They're fucking horrible. They might be the worst team in the NFL, surprisingly. I think they're a really poorly coached team. They had a little bit more design runs for Justin Fields, their ultra-mobile quarterback. No reason for me to be confident in the Bears. The Chiefs, 12.5-point favorites. That seems about right. That's a lot of points in the NFL. I'm laying off of this game. Big spread I don't like early on at all. Andrew, what do you think about this game?
If I was teasing it, I'd probably take the Bears. I would do a teaser, take the Bears, because the Chiefs' offense still doesn't look right. And if for the Bears, for Eberflus, this might be a kitchen sink game for him to save his job. I mean, he has shown us nothing. And I guess this is his third year now, I think, or I guess second year. He's shown us nothing. I mean, the heat's got to be on. If Justin Fields looking this bad, they might just go, hey, we just run the ball, dude. Just get first down. Like, I'm teasing this game if I was to do it, and I would take the Bears.
So you're going to tease the Bears up to 18.5.
Yeah.
Would you tease that? So you should tease that. That's a good, interesting point, Andrew. Great job out of you, buddy. 6-point teaser. You can tease 12 all the way down to 6 through a lot of key numbers there for the Dallas Cowboys. And then you can turn around and tease the Bears up to 18.5.
Yeah,
hopefully, if you can get that for minus 120.
And then throw in the Pats.
And throw in the Patriots. I don't like throwing in the Patriots.
No?
I would rather throw in the Titans, honestly. Because if you throw in the Patriots, you'd be teasing through 0, which I never do. It's just not a good math decision. But yeah, I kind of like that teaser. That might be my teaser of the week, Andrew. I'll probably lay off of it just because I don't know which team to tease in the Kansas City game. So I'll probably lay off of it. But I love your teaser, Andrew. Minus 12 to 6 for the Cowboys and plus 12 to 18.5 for the Bears. A teaser. If you can get it at minus 120, take it. If you're getting it at minus 130, probably not worth your time. Any other thoughts on the Bears Chiefs? Miles?
Just too big of a spread. I think that the Bears are obviously bad, but the Chiefs have not really proven themselves to be actually good this year. So I do think the Chiefs will run over the Bears in the ball game, but to cover that many points is asking a lot. Yeah,
I agree. James, last thoughts?
I agree. I'm not super thrilled with the Chiefs offense based on the performance last week. I did bet this game. I was able to grab 48.5 last night, and I did bet the under on this one.
Got you. Bet the under on this game. Interesting. Okay. Moving on to Sunday Night Football. We are going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers on a short week. Remember, they just played Monday. They're 2.5-point underdogs at Las Vegas. two kind of middling teams, maybe Steelers coming off of a high energy win against the Browns. Maybe we see a little bit of an energy letdown for them. Granted, this is the best coached team in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers playing the Raiders, trying to figure it out with Jimmy Garoppolo over there. They have a lot of offensive weapons. I don't really understand exactly why the Raiders would be favored by 2.5 on Sunday Night Football at home, knowing how well the Steelers travel. That is not going to be a home game for the Raiders whatsoever in their own stadium. Mike Tomlin on a short week. I'm laying off of it. I've already bet 5 games. I lean hard. If I was forced to bet one extra game, I would bet the Steelers plus and take those 2.5 points. If that line moves to 3 for the Steelers, which looks like it's trending towards, that's probably going to be enough for me to bet the Steelers plus 3 points. Andrew, what's your thoughts on this game?
This one's clearly in the Vegas zone. If I'm staying away, but if you had to put any action on it, I actually lean towards the Raiders because that Steelers secondary sucks. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick probably won't play this game, but we saw the 49ers eat them up and the Browns. If Deshaun Watson wasn't such a bad quarterback, they probably would have won that game. Because, I mean, Amari Cooper was eating. They were getting passes downfield. Like, Devontae Adams, and I think Jacoby Myers will be back. It should be an interesting game for the Raiders. If they can keep Jimmy G clean off of Jared Watt, it should be a game they can win and cover.
Yeah, I just think the 49ers are that team this year. If they've always been like, hey, if they stay healthy, they could have a really great performance. I think this is the year where they are just going to steamroll a lot of teams that are kind of average like the Steelers. I think these teams are kind of both – I think they're going to be playing on neutral field. I think they're kind of both very evenly matched in terms of talent. So that's why I kind of lean towards the Steelers. James, what's your thoughts on this game?
I think it's a total coin flip, and because of that, I am taking the Pittsburgh plus money line on this one.
Yeah, so you're a coin flip. You're kind of my point.
So I think there's some value there. If you truly think this is a true coin flip and you're getting plus money on the money line, I take the money line over the spread here. Hopefully you're getting what is it now?
Yeah,
plus 120.
And you're getting Steelers. So this could be another great teaser. Steelers tease that up to 8.5 against the Raiders. I just don't see how the Raiders blow the Steelers out in this game. It looks like based on this, maybe if we shopped around, we could find maybe a minus 115 plus 3 points for the Steelers if a book was trying to take a side on it. I would maybe look out for like a 3 later on this week, especially if Minka is announced out. Maybe that's enough for that line to bump all the way over. But yeah, I'm laying off it. I just don't want to bet in this Matt Canada offense if they're not getting 3 whole points. Miles, last thoughts on this game?
Too close to bet. I would have maybe bet on the Steelers if Devontae Adams had not passed his concussion protocol after last week. Yeah. But with Devontae Adams, this one I'm not going to touch.
Yeah, the more I talk about it, I'm just like, I don't want to bet it on Matt Canada if I don't have to. So yeah, I'm leaning Steelers, but now I'm kind of getting a little bit more off of it. Everyone said something about this game? Yep. Okay. Yeah. Moving on to our Monday night doubleheader. Did y'all like the Monday night doubleheader or not? Did you hate it?
I like the live look-in. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I liked it too. I liked having 2 Monday night football games, kind of spreads it out. We can focus on the 3 o'clock games. We can watch them all at the same time, have a good time doing that. See every single play from every single game there, and then we can flip right around and sit back and have a good time on Monday night watching 2 games at the same time, one starting a little bit earlier than the other. Philadelphia Eagles going into Tampa Bay. This someone checked the weather in Tampa Bay for me on Monday.
Oh, I already had it pulled up. 91 degrees. 91 degrees. It's going to be during the middle of the day. Looks like we're hitting around 85 at kickoff. Got a 50% precipitation, so it looks like it may be a little rainy, little thunderstormy there in the evening in Tampa.
So 50% not enough for me this far out for Monday night from when we recorded Wednesday night. I am going to keep an eye on the weather for this game because Jalen Hurts, even though he was hired to play football in Philadelphia half of the games of his career in the fall and in the winter, he cannot play in the weather. This team cannot play in the weather. I think Baker Mayfield figures out how to keep it close. I think he is on a revenge tour, being undefeated, watching the Cleveland Browns crumble. This is a NFL scriptwriter's wet dream. That's why Baker Mayfield will cover if this game is a bad weather game. I'm taking Baker Mayfield on the points if we have precipitation on the field at 5:30 Central Time. I'm keeping an eye on this weather, but I'm not betting it now. Contingent on bad weather, I'm taking the Bucks +5. James, what are your thoughts?
I grabbed it, and I do have personal bet on this one. I took the Bucks at +215. I was lucky enough to get the script this week, and it definitely has Tampa pulling this one out on a last minute, a little Baker Mayfield scramble pass to Mike Evans in the red zone. So yeah, 215, definitely take that one.
Love it, Mr. Miles.
It's crazy that the Philadelphia Eagles get the disadvantage in bad weather against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but your stats are not wrong. Again, this is one that I just want to touch because I believe way more in the Philadelphia Eagles than I do Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield keeps proving me wrong so far. So maybe I'm wrong.
This is a scriptwriter season. Comeback player of the year, Baker Mayfield. Now that DeMar Hamlin's not going to make a lot of the starting lineups, now that we're kind of finding out, Baker Mayfield might be comeback player of the year. Now that I'm thinking about it. Andrew?
I think this is a great addition to your teaser leg. Make it a 5-team teaser. But I like the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to come in there and probably smash Baker Mayfield up. Their defense line is big. It's tall. I can see them collapsing the pocket, making it hard for him to, make passes. If he goes out on the outside at the scramble, you're facing Hassan Reddick and just a fast defense. I think it's going to be trouble for the Bucs.
That's always a long Monday when you have a big parlay or a big teaser and all four legs hit on Sunday and you're like just sitting around Monday at work like, man, I hope fucking Jalen Hurts can figure out how to throw in the rain today because I've got a lot of money riding on this.
It also feels like a 3-touchdown A.J. Brown game. The squeaky wheel gets to grease.
Yeah. Honestly, if it's a good weather game, I would say this line's right. I think they score a lot of points on this Bucs defense. Miles, last thoughts on this game?
No, I said everything I had to say about it. I don't believe in Baker Mayfield, but you might be right.
Hell yeah. Going on to the final Sunday Night Football game, the LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Rams getting 1.5 points at Cincinnati. This is a quarterback duel. The offensive line has been very efficient for the Rams. The Bengals defense has regressed significantly. Still not being enough said about this Joe Burrow calf. I guess this is a little bit in the line that we're seeing right now. I think if Joe Burrow was 100% healthy and playing well in the first 2 weeks of the season, I think we're seeing this spread a little bit more towards the Bengals side. With all that being said, I love the Rams here, getting 1.5. Why wouldn't I? Seems like that's moving towards 2. You can get positive money line. So you know what? I'm going to take a positive bet here and just take the Rams to show everybody why they won a Super Bowl a few years back with a lot of the same players on this team. Well, plus money line in a game who I think the Rams should win. I will take that 10 times out of 10. A lot of value there. Taking the Rams at plus 105 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Going to Andrew, the last game on our slate.
I like Bengals. This feels like a nobody believes in us game. They're going to come out. They're going to play hard as fuck. And I think Jamar Chase finally wakes up and lulls people to sleep. He's going to have a big game. I like the Bengals this week.
I do like that idea out of you taking Mr. Jamar Chase to have a bounce back game. 2 very disappointing week ones. Our pick or your pick rather, and I was kind of with you even before you said it in that Bold Takes podcast. that we did in the offseason right before week 1 of the regular season. We were kind of both negative on Ja'Marr Chase. He was your bold prediction to be the bust of the season, and I was kind of in lockstep with you. With that being said, you are buying extremely low on Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase, and I still think they're going to get out to a slow start, but I do kind of agree with you there. Maybe we take a peek at the prop for Ja'Marr Chase and his receiving total for the game, or honestly, maybe even his reception total. Because if it's like at 6.5, I could see the Bengals coming out in the first half of this game and throwing 5 screens, 5 little curl routes to Ja'Marr Chase just to get him in the mix a little bit more. So maybe something to take a peek at in the pregame just to see what that line is for Ja'Marr Chase's total receptions. If it's below 7, I'm probably going to hammer it pretty hard, if I'm entirely honest. Miles, what are your thoughts?
I agree.
Man, Joe Burrow has been the most disappointing player in the NFL this year. The Bengals in general haven't shown any promise. Andrew mentioned that nobody believes in them. I am one of those nobodies. I think the LA Rams are just going to absolutely run over the Bengals this weekend.
Yeah. James?
Yeah, having gotten the script from both Monday night games, Joe Burrow will not be playing. I really do think, I couldn't rush quick enough to bet. I got plus 110 on the money line from the Rams there. I think for sure we find out about Thursday or Friday that Joe Burrow's not playing this game. This line moves a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good point that I didn't even think about. Because I'm calculating in a injured Joe Burrow, and there's, like you said, James, probably a week 3 of the NFL season early on. This was an injury, a calf injury that Joe Burrow got early on in camp. He's not going to be 100% for this game. We can say that for sure. He's not going to be 100% of the game. We saw him limp off the field in last week in Cincinnati in his loss to the Ravens. Granted, whenever you lose a game and you had the ball in your hands last play of the game, you're probably going to limp off a little bit, be a little bit more dramatic with how you're feeling towards the end of the game. But yeah, excellent point. If Joe Burrow doesn't play, this is a free roll. So if you're already leaning to the Rams side of the ball with Joe Burrow in, you got to bet the Rams money line. You got to bet the Rams plus 1.5.
See,
because
I think if Joe Burrow was going to miss, the line would already reflect that. Vegas always has a beat on this. The line would have already edged a little bit. Still minus 1.5. So I think Joe Burrow's going to play.
I disagree, Andrew. I think this line is half and half. I think it's half. I think if Joe Burrow doesn't play, I think this line moves to Rams -3 in 2 seconds. So I kind of disagree with you. There. And there's no real other aspect of this Bengals team that really makes me excited about it. Miles, you said everything you wanted to say about this game?
I did.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Everyone said something about this game? Yes?
Yep.
Cool. All right. This has been What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I think I made like 7 or 8 bets this week.
Did anybody bet the under or over on we are going to make this in an hour? Because we're just shy of 2.
I told everybody that I'm going to try and keep it under an hour. With that being said, I mean, I'm long-winded, but I think all of you had a lot to say as well. I tried to keep it rolling as much as possible, but I think we all had a great time here. I really appreciate all of you joining me for this podcast, taking time out of your evening to hang out with me and talk a little bit of football. We're going to record this every single Tuesday. I'm going to invite each one of these guests on again in the future. We also have Sunday night and Thursday night live watch parties that you can tune into. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. And if you won something, please shoot me a screenshot to @JAMJKS on Twitter. I have a lot of new followers on there, so hopefully I'll have a little bit more traction and engagement regularly instead of getting either 1 like on a post or 50,000 likes on a post. Maybe we kind of like bridge that middle gap a little bit more. Andrew, I know you're not a public figure per se. Do you have anything to say to the people?
Please like and subscribe to the channel. We put a lot of work into it. It's a hobby of love.
Hell yeah. Mr. Most Days off on, I think, all platforms. Miles Francis, local Dallas comedian, does a lot of shows in town here with me at Dallas Comedy Club and throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area. What do you got to say, Mr. Miles?
Oh, no, just follow me everywhere online at Mr. Most Days Off if you would like to hear my comedy, or just tune into What Are We Talking About if you'd like to hear me pretend like I know what I'm talking about with football.
Hell yeah. And honestly, Miles, you kind of rag on yourself and I kind of feed into it for you being a casual, but you know a thing or two about football. You've been following fantasy football pretty closely for a few years, so that's why you keep on getting invited on. Our insider, Mr. James Brewer, anything to say? Are you a public figure?
No, much like the Wizard of Oz said, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. No, very happy to be on. Please like, subscribe, do all those fun things. Happy to be on here. I'm happy to merely be a guest and don't need to push anything on my end. So happy to be here.
What are y'all doing Thursday night?
I will still be in New Orleans, so see you on
You'll be in
Bourbon.
New Orleans.
I'm not sure yet. I have to get back with you. Yeah.
Past your
Should be
bedtime.
fun.
I hear you. Not coming in. Miles, you want to come hang out with me, watch live Thursday night football?
I'd rather go
9:30
hang out in
hours.
Bourbon Street with James if that's an option, but if he says no, then yeah, I'll be at your place.
I have a
All
king
right,
bed, so as
so-
long as you're cool with being small spoon, we're in.
Hell yeah, dude. I would have it any other way.
You can be small spoon. Who's gonna be in the middle with Lana, your wife, James?
she is staying at home. This is a work trip that I'm on.
Oh, okay.
So let's
So-
work it. You know what I mean?
So
Yeah, there you go.
let's get some spooning over there in New Orleans. Okay, so Miles will be watching the game live with me. I'll invite probably a few more of my comedian friends to come hang out with us, watch the game. If I had to guess, it will be a little bit of a silly goose time. You might see us pull out the Catan board at halftime because this one might be over quick, but we'll hang out with you. We'll have a good time. Thank you. Good night. Under 2 hours, like I said.